Calves and Civ gear. How well do they mix? Hi, and welcome to Red Evony. I am Akayasha. You can call me Aka. Okay, folks, we are continuing the Civ gear series that we've been doing. This time, we're looking at the mounted generals. And when it comes to looking at Civ gear for your mounted generals, there are actually several different sets that you could potentially get Civ pieces for your mounted generals. We also have other sets that are possible for gear selection. Something like the Freedom set, right? This one has got some pieces with mounted gear, so some of the pieces in the Freedom set are viable options for our mounted general. In addition to the Freedom set, we also have something like the Han set. Okay? Han is another set that has some pieces with mounted buffs, so this is one that we also need to put into consideration. The choice for Civ gear pieces for your mounted general is actually quite broad. Now, one thing that we could do that could significantly make the Civ gear selection a lot easier is to decide how many mounted generals are we using. Are you using just one mounted general for bosses and for PvP? Or are you going to use two different generals? In my case, I have two different generals. I have Zhao Yun, who is for bosses, and I have Hannibal, who is strictly for PvP. So this way, it actually makes the selection a whole lot easier. Now, when we're talking about general for boss monsters, the set that we want is the Rurik set. Okay? This is the set that is strictly for boss monster generals. Ideally, you would want to have your general decked out in full Rurik gear. As we can see here, this is an example of someone that has done exactly just that. Okay? So, the general has full Rurik gear, and as you can see, it's got the 6-piece Rurik set attribute on the general. In an ideal situation, this is what we should be aiming for our monster killing general. However, with that being said, in my case, I'm probably not going to have the 6-piece Rurik set on my boss general. And that is because I plan to keep the Dragon Ring on my boss general. I'm really serious when it comes to my double drops, and the way my setup is right now, there is no way I'm going to get rid of this ring. So I'm going to keep this ring on my boss general. And I will probably end up with 5 Rurik pieces on this general. Why? Well, that's because my VIP level is not high enough that I get enough double drops here to be able to afford to remove that ring from my general. Okay? People with higher VIP levels can obviously afford to do that. But for me, not quite. So, it's going to be 5 Rurik pieces and the Dragon Ring on my boss killing general. Okay? That's just me, and that's a little bit of Aka craziness that I'm sharing with you guys. Most likely though, I will get the 6-piece, okay, the bracers, and I'll probably just keep it so that I can get the ownership buffs for the Rurik set. And depending on if I have extra stuff lying around in my inventory, I might refine it a bit so that maybe I slap it on when I'm doing world boss or something like that. Okay, so that's it for my boss killing general. Now, when we're talking about my PvP general, let's go through my gear selection choices for that general. This is my Hannibal, and when it comes to mounted generals, the first piece that most people tend to get is the Plantagenet helmet. So I'll just come on and put that there. Yes. So this is usually the first piece that most people get. And this is actually a very good piece. As you see here, it's got mounted defense, mounted HP, and marching mounted attack. It's also got ground troop defense debuff. In fact, for most situations, this helmet is perfect for a mounted general. So a lot of people get this first. Now, let's look at some of the other pieces on the general. The first one that we want to look at is the weapon. Okay? Like I said, weapon is very important and it usually dictates the rest of the pieces that you're going to get on that general. So, if we look at some of the weapons on the sets that we have here, we have the Bourbon set. Okay? Bourbon is looking good for the mounted general. The Plantagenet weapon is for a ranged general, so that's no good for us here. In addition to this, we also look at the Freedom weapon and the hand weapon. These are potential candidates for the mounted general. And as you can see, I think that the Bourbon weapon is the best out of the three. In fact, with the exception of the Rurik axe, I think it's probably the best weapon for you to have for your mounted general. So, my choice for my PvP mounted general is going to be the Bourbon Partisan. Now, as you could probably see, I don't yet have this weapon on my general. The Bourbon weapon is a supremacy piece, which I don't yet have. So, when I get the opportunity to get that, that's the weapon that I'm going to put on my general. So we take a note of that. Okay, the next piece that we want to look at is the ring. And as you can see here, there are various choices of ring for the mounted general. We've got the Freedom Star. The Rurik braces as well are also an option, which you could put on your PvP general or you could save it exclusively for your mounted general. Either one. And we also have the Bourbon braces, which is a very good piece for us to put on our mounted general. So, we take a look at these three pieces. Okay, these are the pieces that I looked at when I was considering which one to get for my mounted general. And I decided to go with the Bourbon braces. I felt it was the best one out of these for my PvP mounted general. And that's actually what I have. So, we just put it on our general. There we go. Bourbon braces. Okay, that's cool. The next piece that we're going to look at is the leg armor. And for the leg armor, there are several varying choices that we could pick from. But my case, I looked at them and I was like, I'm going to go with the Bourbon leg armor, which is actually what I have. So I'll just come here and slap it on my general. There. That's the Bourbon leg armor. Now, the next piece that we want to look at is the chest. And these are the various options for the chest that I looked at. The Plantagenet chest, it's got mounted HP, but the other stats they're not quite what we need, okay? The hand chest is also a viable option. It's got all troop HP, marching mounted attack, and marching HP. So, yeah, this is a good option. And, of course, we look at the Bourbon chest. Okay, so those are the options that we're looking at. Now, in my situation, when I was comparing these pieces, I actually felt that the hand chest was the best piece for my mounted general. Okay, that's what I thought, and you can see it just by looking at the stats. But one slight issue. So far, I don't have any hand pieces on my general. All the pieces that I've gone through the selection for, I don't have a single hand piece. So I thought to myself like, okay, if I got that piece, that would be okay, but it might mess up with my set attributes for the gear. So I decided to put it on hold, okay? Put that on hold and go and look at the boots. These are the options that I had when I was looking at the boots. And from what I can see, the Plantagenet boots are probably the best option for me to go with my mounted general. Okay, better than the Bourbon option. So I was like, okay, the Plantagenet boots, good option. And with those boots, I'm able to get the two-piece set attribute that I have with the helmet. So for me, that is the Plantagenet boots selected. Now, we only have one piece left, and that's the chest. So coming back to the chest, as I have selected all the other pieces, I don't have any option for an additional hand piece. So if I decided to go with the hand chest, that might be okay for the stats of the piece alone, but it messes up with the set attributes that I have on my general. And because of that, instead of going with the hand chest, I decided to go with the bourbon chest. Okay, I get the buffs there for the bourbon chest, and I'm also able to complete the 4-piece set attribute for my general. Now, at this point, you might be saying, well, the 4-piece bourbon set attribute is rally capacity. Is it really that important when you are considering buffs? Now, if I was in a different situation, maybe I might actually go with the hand chest. But because I lead most of the rallies for my alliance, that additional rally capacity is actually helpful. So, because of that, I decided that I would go with the bourbon chest. So, with that being said, this is the full selection that I have for my PvP mounted general. That's my selection process. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. That's it for me, guys. Thank you very much. Aka signing out.